everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Guys, today we're going to talk about something I almost never talk about, and I'm going to have to start getting used to it because we're getting a new raid. We're getting that Rancor thing. It sounds kind of annoying, actually. Just higher damage or something. I don't know. But that's not what our focus right now. I want to show you guys how to use Supreme Leader Kylo to solo the Sith Triumvirate Raid. I've been told that not a lot of good video guides have been created for it, and I want to show you guys my methodology and kind of the explanations. I did a solo the other day, and as you can see, I got number 2. No making number 2 jokes in the comments, please. I might have to delete them. Just kill them with fire if you do. Anyways, I just want to show you guys my team, and I'll show you guys my mods at the end. It's nothing crazy. I'll do a couple freeze frames, but we're going to do it all in one shot. So hopefully, and we can't rewind because I'm bad at technology. So we're going to just go for it. I think we can do it though. So let's go for it. I'm going to have to pause to explain a few of the really important underlying mechanics at the start, and we'll be able to move faster as we move along. So just so you know what to expect, we're going to do a lot of pausing at the very start though. So let's jump in here. Now you see I'm targeting Sith Assassin first. We're fighting against Nihilus. We're in phase 1. You can see that the team is Hux lead with Hermit Yoda, First Order Officer, and Thrawn as the other supports, and then we have Supreme Leader Kylo. So you can see we're stunning Assassin here, and we don't care about damage on Nihilus initially. We're not going to do a significant amount. The thing is, we have to build our damage over time with Supreme Leader Kylo. So you can see we just hit Assassin with the poke. That's what I'm going to be referring to, the siphon ability, I think is what it's called. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's the single attack. It's not the AoE and it's not the basic attack. It's the poke. That's what I'm going to be calling it. And when you do that and you crit, then you get 40 stacks of whatever it's called, the blue stuff, the siphon number. And that number doesn't actually increase your power. You have to activate that power later. So the goal here is to, in the initial stages of every single phase, you want to increase that number by a significant margin, and then start actually turning that into stats. So what it's doing here is for all those stacks, you're increasing his mastery level, or at least rather, it's your siphon. Once you have once you do the swipe attack, that's what I'm calling the AoE. Once you do the swipe attack, that's going to increase his mastery level, in which also directly translates into damage. Now it resets at the start of every phase, so we have to go through the same process every time. But you can see, we're keeping this freeze frame for a minute, but the other really important aspect to all of this is the fact that I'm hitting Assassin. Right now I'm not hitting Nihilus. Like I said, we don't care about damage initially. We're going to ramp up our damage later. But right now, if we hit Nihilus is going to gain turn meter. He's going to get all this stuff, and we're not going to do much damage anyways. So what we want to do, we want to hit the adds, especially target the guys with the shield, so that we can get that shield buff on all of our characters, so that eventually when Nihilus goes to annihilate, we can actually get some damage. So let's keep going. Now, with Hermit Yoda's Master's Training, you want to give it to Kylo first, and now I probably made a mistake there. I probably should have targeted Assassin there, because I think I would have gotten... I'm trying to think now. Would I have gotten more stacks? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's not a significant part of this strategy. So we want to, as often as we can, pass the turn to Supreme Leader Kylo. We want to fracture Nihilus because that's going to slow him down a little bit. And with Hoda, we're going to be doing the basic attack a lot. It's not really an attack, but we're going to be using that move. Every chance we get with Kylo, though, we're going to be doing that poke every single time. So you can see that Hoda does the heal there. We want to save his big heal. His basic is fine. His basic is good. You can see Hux is going to pass the turn to Kylo, and we're going to keep poking. And now we can do the feat, or the big ability. And, okay, so you see it was at 170, and now we're at 340 whenever he is in his ultimate. Not, I called it his big ability just a minute ago, but it's his ultimate. Once he's in his ultimate, he doubles the number of stacks he's got on him. Now, 340 is not that great of a number for this, so every time you use the swipe with Kylo, it's going to increase his mastery based on this number. So if you do the swipe without any of that number, he doesn't increase his base stats. If you do the swipe way later in the round, then you're going to increase his stats much more because he has way bigger stacks. So right now, during his ultimate is generally the time that you want to do the swipe, or you're going to be tempted to. The fact is, 340 is just not enough. You want to be well over 500 if you can. So his first time in ultimate, he's going to get 3 moves in a row. You're going to want to do the poke, and then the poke, and then the poke, and then he'll be out of ultimate, and then all of his cooldowns will still be reset, and you do the poke again, and then later you can do the swipe. So you can see Thrawn hands the turn to Kylo, and now Nihilus is going. You need to keep an eye. Now, let's pause for one more second. You want to keep an eye on his Annihilate ability. Up top, the number with the 4, that's the number you really need to be cautious of, because once he can annihilate anyone, and then he'll basically just ruin everything for you. So, the other thing to point out, now we're on Hoda, we're not using the second special right now, the big heal, because we need to wait for that Annihilate to happen. That Nihilus will almost kill one of your characters, and we need to get them healed as quick as we can after that happens, or we just lose one of our characters. Now, we will lose characters over the course of time here, but that's not really what we're trying. We're not really that concerned about those characters when they are being lost. We care about them. We care about them later down the line, but right now it's not a big. Rather, gosh, we're doing one take, so I can't really outtake that. But what we're trying to do here, we're trying to keep our characters alive as long as we can, so we can use them. Eventually, Hux will die, and First Order Officer, and then maybe Thrawn and Hoda as well. I've had runs where all of them live besides Hux. Hux always dies eventually. Usually, Hux and the Officer die, and a lot of times, all 4 of them die. Supreme Leader Kylo perseveres, though. He prevails. He's like Zareth. So, as you can see, we're just doing the poke all the time. We're spamming it. Now we're out of the ultimate. We're at 290 again, so that number is halved again. So, just do that poke one more time. Nihilus summons people. And so, as of right now, we've only increased our mastery by a small amount. Only a couple incidental swipes by Kylo. Now we can do the swipe here, and we'll be able to increase our mastery a little bit, and we'll also get a bunch of tokens, or rather, ultimate charge, to be able to get him closer to his ultimate. Now, you want to wait until his ultimate is all the way full. That's the most efficient, best way to do things. And here, I think I made a slight mistake. Okay, so that was not a mistake, actually. So we could have done his ultimate, and we had the poke first. Just do the poke first, because then once we hit the ultimate, we can reset all of our cooldowns. So then you have that extra poke stacks. You have the extra 40 on top of that. So you want to just maximize the amount of pokes you get, and that even to include with the ultimate. So now Hux can pass the turn to Kylo, and you're going to hit his ultimate. Now this is where I think I made a slight mistake. I hadn't really soloed the raid for a while, so I'm thinking here about what I should do. I probably got sidetracked by my 6-year-old. He wanted to see what was going on. So you can see we're at 760. That would be enough to start doing swipes. Instead, I decided to go for more pokes. Now, one other thing, guys, I'm pausing once again. Look at Nihilus's third ability. You can see that he has Annihilate ready. And so we need to get the guys with the shields activating their abilities. So, in the meantime, we're going to be passing turns to Kylo as often as we can. Just doing the poke. And we probably should have been doing the swipe, but you can see Thrawn has his shield up. And it's hard to tell because who knows when Nihilus is actually going to take a turn. If you time it poorly, then you're just screwed. So what I like to do, I always use the when Annihilate is ready, I use the guy with the shield ability first. The first time someone has a shield, you activate that one. Then you skip a person generally and wait until the third person also has a shield, who also has a shield, and you activate him. That way you have full coverage and you're not wasting all your shields. So with Hoda, I just did the heal, his basic, and you can see now Hux activated his shield. They hit Thrawn. And Hoda's gonna go now. He can heal everyone. Well, that was a mistake. So Hoda should have healed Thrawn there. I rectified it though by passing the turn to Hoda, who then heals. Now we can do another poke, and we're out of ultimate. But Nihilus, he only has 7 turns left. We need to start doing the swipe as quick as we can. So the next time we're in ultimate, we're gonna do that. Now again, we're not going to hit Nihilus there. One thing I will point out, you saw Thrawn hitting, he does fracture, he does 4 different times of fracture there. He is, he hits 4 times, so that means that he does 20% additional to the ultimate charge on Kylo. Now, you see I'm starting to do some swipes. Once we get our ultimate from Kylo, we'll be able to really start destroying. So I jumped in. We only have 5 turns left, so we gotta hurry up. So you'll note that we did, 4,600 damage right there, or maybe it was 460. I didn't catch it. But I want you to notice how we start ramping up our damage. And so we passed the turn. Let me see if I can pause it. There we go. So we're doing, even with the swipe right now, we're doing over 1 million damage. And that's going to keep building. You can notice that Nihilus only has 4 turns left until he gets his, his frenzy and kills everyone. Pretty sure that's not what it's called. Gosh, I'm bad at this, guys. I'm bad at talking about raids. But the number 4 up there, once it cools down all the way to 0, then he just kills everyone. And we've done less than a quarter of the damage remaining. So we've got to hustle, but we can start doing a lot of damage here. So you can see, didn't pause it quite. We did 1,700,000 with that swipe. We're starting to do like 2 million damage for a basic from Kylo. And now I did one more swipe, probably unnecessary. That's over 2 million damage there with that swipe. And Nihilus has 3 turns, now 2, until he just crushes us. So we need to hustle up here. We're not going to hit the ultimate again. We're just going to do basics from Kylo from now on. Now watch how much damage we're doing every time. 3 million per hit, and he's doing 2 hits every time. Nihilus is down to 1, and it never really gets very close to this. For me, I think you need to start swiping way earlier on, but look at how much damage, the percent damage we're doing is crazy right now. So Annihilate is up. I'm just trying to finish it off. So we did over 11% damage in one basic hit there because we increased the mastery so much. So we're in phase 2, and it's going to be the same principle. Now, Sion is an interesting guy. This is the phase where Hux usually dies. You don't want to lose anyone else, but if Hux dies, that's okay. Now, one thing I do want to point out, guys, it's really interesting to me. So Hux has a basic ability that if you put his Omega on, which a lot of us just thoughtlessly did, it increases his turn meter when he uses his basic. Now, under the with Supreme Leader Kylo, that means that he decreases his max health by 10% every time he does that, because he's gaining bonus turn meter. So, what's going to happen here, you notice that I put Master's Training on everyone but Hux, because I don't want Hux to assist and decrease his max health. The other piece of it, though, is Hermit Yoda is using his basic. He's going to be every time he uses his basic, that also increases turn meter, and it kills Hux a little bit faster. And that's why he dies. He becomes a frail man very quickly, because he's using his basic, and because he's using his, and because Hoda's using his basic. Now, the thing that you want to keep in mind here, though, is we have the event special ability there, right above the ability with 3 from Hoda. That ability can cleanse. It makes it so you do less damage. It gets the pain, I think, off of you, and that's fine, because the only person who's doing significant damage is Kylo. So Kylo's not going to use that ability. Everyone else can spam that ability, though, and keep Hux alive just a little bit longer. And because also, if we shoot Sion also just gains turn meter. We don't want that. And you take more damage when they hit you if you have a bunch of pain. So cleansing that pain as often as you can is good. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting rid of the stacks of pain while we do the exact same thing as previously. So you can see we're shooting the adds on the side so that we don't give more turn meter to Sion. Now, we use the poke ability first, even though the ultimate is ready. And Hux, we use the call to assist, because that doesn't actually increase his turn meter at all. Now we can use our ultimate, because our cooldown on poke hasn't been diminished, and we're already at 80. Sion calls more adds, which is great, so we don't have to hit him now either. Thrawn can pass the ability to Kylo. You gotta kill that assassin first. The assassin will mess things up, because they'll give you all kinds of turn meter. We just want to do pokes. Even though it's more fun to do the AoE and swipe everyone, you want to do the poke so that you're gaining those stacks of siphon, so you can eventually turn that number from siphon into a meaningful amount of damage. So we're already at 200. Once we hit our ultimate, we'll be at 400. That's great. We want to be over 500 before we start swiping all the time. So Hux calls to assist. Now Hoda, who didn't have pain at all, still used the event special there just to keep him alive a little longer. And Hux is handing the turn to Kylo. Do this, hand the turn to Kylo. We can swipe now if we want, or we can do the basic. The basic does double hits, so that you'll note that Kylo was at 90%. If we do the basic with Kylo, that does 2 hits, that does 2 crits, and that adds 5% per crit to his ultimate stacks, so that he's now ready to do his ultimate in case we don't get another attack from someone else. Now, Hoda can use his heal ability here. There's not an annihilate ability, there's not an annihilate function, or mechanic rather, so he can use his heal here, and that doesn't hurt Hux, not as much as his basic. Now, you'll note that I do still use his basic, but we're good. It's totally fine if he uses it. If he doesn't, we just want to keep Hux alive as long as we can. So you can see we could have used his basic, we just use his event ability. Now, we can heal with Hoda. We can hit with First Order Officer. Probably should have done the cleanse on him. We're just doing pokes one more time. You see we're at 12 now for Kylo, or for Sion, until Enrage. That's what the word was that I had forgotten. So we're at 12 to Enrage because we were able to hit the ultimate right away because it was already charged from the previous round. So we can afford now to do 2 ultimates worth of pokes, and then eventually we can do the swipe. So once again, we're just passing the turns to Kylo as often as we can, doing the pokes. You can see we're already like, we're not doing much damage. We've only done like just a little over 7%, which isn't much considering we've already gotten down to 10 to enrage. But now we can just start working on it. So the next time we have the ultimate, we're going to be able to start doing the swipes, and the damage is going to start increasing like crazy. So you can see I keep cycling the event special as much as we can just to keep Hux alive, and Hux's max health is just not that high. You'll see it start really dipping down pretty soon. So we get the ultimate. Now we want to save. After this, we're over 1,000. We're at 1,000 siphons, so that's great. We only did like 300,000 per hit here, so we're gonna hand the turn to Kylo. Now we're gonna swipe, and we got, okay, so we're at 300,000 for that swipe. Watch how every time you swipe, his mastery increases based off of his siphon number. So I didn't catch the number there, but I'm sure it was pretty big. And alright, so we're already at 1,000,000 damage for just the swipe, for just the AoE. So you can see, as if we're patient and add to that siphon over time, eventually it's going to add to his stats in a hugely significant way toward the end. You just have to be patient and not worry about the damage. We're at 83%. We're gonna do one more swipe here because was he still in his ultimate? I did one more swipe anyways, just for fun, because who doesn't like it? Swipe or no swiping. You can look at Hux's health now, guys. Look at how small the health bar is. If he keeps getting lucky, like if Sion had hit him twice, he'd just be dead. But he keeps getting lucky. As time goes on, eventually that becomes just 1 or 2 dots here. Okay, so now we could do the poke, but we're already doing 2 million per hit from Kylo. And so we're good. We're just going to do basics now. So now he can do another basic. We could swipe, we could poke. So I did another swipe just for fun. You can see now the swipe, we only did 2 million here, but that's totally fine. We did 2.5 million per hit on him there. And now, so see, Hux is almost dead. So I put the Master's Training on him just so that if he does happen to survive, he can actually add to our ultimate stacks if we want. So it's kind of interesting. Initially, when I was doing this video, I thought that I was getting lucky with Hux, and I was. Like, he shouldn't be alive right now. Usually he's dead, but for a little bit I was like, man, this is too easy. You guys are not going to have a good example of what to do. And in fact, there is some pretty good luck here in the first part of phase 3. But as you can see, we took out Sion. It wasn't even that close. The third one can be a little trickier because now there's an isolate, and isolate can really mess up your ability for your team to actually function. As I'm sure you've noticed, isolate is really good, especially in this phase of the raid. So there's a couple factors here. First, admire Hux's health bars. All of the health dots are so big compared to everyone else's. He's losing his max health. The other piece is, okay, so we want to get as many stacks of siphon as possible with Kylo, with the poke, but we also want to be able to avoid getting isolated right away. So Traya has all of her abilities available right now. What we want to do, we want to get her toppled, so we have one full topple where no one is isolated. So that's the goal right now, is to get one full topple where no one is isolated. So you'll note that First Order Officer had the turn meter, so we went first. He targeted the lightsaber that had foresight, because now we can use an AoE or the ultimate from Kylo to be able to just wipe all of them out and get the topple right away. But if it still had foresight, he would have missed one of those Well, I guess the ultimate probably doesn't miss, does it? Now that I'm thinking about it. But if we do the AoE from Kylo, which does nothing for our overall mastery stacks, then we're gonna miss. So that's a priority that you need to have when you're killing these adds. You want to get rid of that foresight on the sabers, so you can do one clean AoE and knock all of them out. And that goes for future topples as well, not just the first one. So I did pop the ult first here, just to make sure that it is that everyone went down, and now we can just increase our stacks. Now Hux went out of the turn to Kylo, and it's the same thing, guys. I'm not gonna show you guys too much, or not gonna freeze frame too much here. There is a couple things that I'll need to point out here pretty soon, but you can see Hux, he still has his master's training, but this is good. Like, he keeps handing turns. Now this is the phase that usually First Order Officer dies as well. I've never had Hux make it past this point. Now the sabers all go, and then Traya chooses someone to isolate, and you pray that it's going to be Hux in this case, because if Hux gets isolated, then he just dies later, and it doesn't matter. Like, his use is limited anyways. So he did get isolated, and that was lucky, and it's almost a shame that happened. Now notice we're gonna shoot the one with foresight here to get that foresight off. Now we can do one AoE, knock all the sabers off. And then Hux is already dead, so we don't have to worry about isolate for a little bit more, which is great. You can absolutely do fine without isolate here, but you just I mean, with isolate on your characters, but it does add something nice. And I'm not gonna just wait until another chance to solo the raid, just because it could be months before I can do it again, just because of my schedule and the amount of content you guys demand from me. So Traya's back, and there's not gonna be isolate now. And now there is going to be another foresight on a saber, so Thrawn can just shoot that saber, miss, and now I decided to just do a poke because it was available. Now we can hand the turn to Kylo. I did the poke again, and hopefully Traya doesn't get a turn. So we can hand the turn from Thrawn to Kylo. Now we can do the swipe. And once again, we're going to do isolate here, or fracture rather, and then just keep rinsing, repeating. Rinse, repeating. Now, after this topple, Hermit Yoda, or someone, I think it is Hermit Yoda, it is the one who gets isolated. Once that happens, then we can, it's going to start getting messy. So we're already at the point, we're at 800 siphons, so I decided here I wasn't going to wait until we got to 1,000. We can start doing the swipe now. We're not going to do as much damage. The rule of thumb that I've used is generally if you start doing about if you start doing about 7% damage with Supreme Leader Kylo on his basic, if you do 7% damage to a boss, then that's probably about enough every time you hit her. So you can see here, there's actually no foresight, so we could do the poke or we could do the AoE. I don't remember which one I chose. I do the AoE because we're still in our ultimate, and so we're going to gain that. We're going to gain stats based on the 800 rather than the 400 that it decreases to afterward. So now it's less significant to use the swipe because we're only at 400 stacks instead of 800. So I still did the swipe. We're at 1 million damage per swipe. It's not as impressive as past phases, but we're going to keep going. So you can see Hermit Yoda is isolated, and that means that Hermit Yoda can't heal everyone, can't call everyone for Master's training. He can just heal himself, basically, and that's problematic. I always forget about that. I always forget about that effect. Now, one other thing I should point out, guys, and this is important, sorry to keep freeze framing, but I don't want to forget anything. First Order Officer, when he hands the turn meter to someone, if he's fractured, it doesn't work, just like Hermit Yoda's abilities. However, Thrawn, when he goes, he can hand the turn meter to Kylo, even if Kylo or Thrawn are isolated, if one of them is isolated, Thrawn can still hand turn meter over. That's one of his abilities. He can just give it to someone, even if just give it to someone. Haha. He can even if they're fractured or isolated. Not fractured. Maybe fractured. I don't know. Probably actually. Because I think it just says it can't be prevented. Now, the rule of thumb too, guys, and I didn't really talk about this, you want to do the poke whenever you can. If the poke isn't available, generally, you want to do the swipe with Kylo, unless you need to get his ultimate charges up faster. Like, for some reason, you need to get his ultimate charges up fast. That works. So, okay, so this is also the phase, I think I mentioned it before, this is also the phase where the First Order officer dies, usually. So, he's looking kind of depleted now. If him and Hux both die, that's fine. That happens. You go into the next phase with Hoda and Thrawn and Kylo, and you're good. So, the other thing I want to point out, guys, in case it wasn't obvious, gosh, I probably should have pointed it out earlier. You restart your stacks of Siphon and your mastery increases every phase. So you have to go through this ramping up of damage every single time. And it's probably way too late to have said something about that, but it is what it is. Now our damage is at 45% left. And what does she have? She has 6 until Enrage. So we're doing okay. We're doing a lot of damage with our basic. Now First Order officer's gone. And Fracture's gone, that's great. Our Isolate's gone. So, we still want to topple. And hopefully we can just finish it here. So we went to from 40% damage left to 28%. We can do basic. Now we're at 16%. We're going to do our basic here. We're going to do our basic again. 4% left. And basic. So, got through phase 3 with all the characters we need. Phase 4 is where it starts getting a little dicey, and all my characters are like slower than they usually are, just because the way I have them modded for 3v3. So it's a little bit of a struggle here. We have to kill all 3 of these guys before they hit Enrage. We have a lot of options to be able to get, like when we swipe, we're actually able to sometimes get all the way up to 20% on our mastery, or on our ultimate from Supreme Leader Kylo, which is great. We just got to do this right. So we want to focus on Nihilus first, and we want to be watching for that Annihilate ability. Again, we're gonna start doing as many siphons as we can. However, we don't have the good fortune to be able to accumulate as many stacks for our ultimate, because we have 2 less characters available, handing turn meter and reducing cooldowns and stuff. So, but all of these bosses have significantly fewer hit points. So what we're going to be doing basically the same thing. We gotta target the sides first, so they come back and we can get more ultimate charge. And we want to get our ultimate up, we want to get our siphon stacks up, and do our AoE. So, here, Hoda is pretty low health, so you probably should have healed right there. But it was more fun to not do that. Now you note, we could have done our ultimate, did the poke here again, just to maximize the number of pokes we have. And now we hit our ultimate. We're going to do 4 more pokes in a row. Hoda is almost dead here, so he heals himself. Now, one thing I want to point out as well, guys, and I'll freeze frame it once we get to one of these characters. So, right now, once again, we don't want to give turn meter to these bosses, and this was lucky. Traya gave Isolate to Kylo, but when he's in his ultimate, he can't be isolated. So, that was just wasted. Doesn't really matter for the purposes of all of this. If she isolated someone else, we would be fine, most likely. Because in truth, Kylo can dispel it if we really need to. So they're hitting Kylo, that's fine. And now, so here's the thing I want to point out though, guys. You got to be cognizant of this. So Thrawn and Hoda can both do this. You see the number above Traya. That number is how, I forget what it's called, but it is a weakness, or like I said, I'm bad at all these raid phrases. I'll be better when we get to the Rancor, maybe. But the fact is that 12 above her name, every time we take a turn, or once one of our characters does something, that increases. And then every time we take a turn, we take a number of damage that is concurrent with that. So what we can do, we can use the event special there on the top right above the 3 for Hoda, and what that does is dispel that 12, and we want to use that as much as we can, just because as we're doing that, we're able to keep our guys alive for a little bit longer. So that's what we do. Thrawn can do that one as well. And if we need to, Kylo can actually dispel Isolate. So we're doing the poke all we can. We've done 4 now. Hopefully we can do one more in just a minute. We can start picking up our ultimate charges as quick as we can. And so we can do the poke. Pretty soon though, like once we get his ultimate again, we're going to start doing swipes, I believe. Or maybe we do one more round. I always forget. I always base it off of how much Enrage we have remaining. So we have 13 right now. It's not bad. It does start getting problematic fast because these raid characters are pretty quick. And okay, so we're at 77. Now we're at 87%. And so Thrawn used the event ability to dispel the stacks on Traya, because it starts to add up pretty quick. Traya's going to isolate someone pretty soon as well, and we got to be prepared for that. Also, we need to be watching for Nihilus's Annihilate. Both of our characters do have the shield though, so that's good. Get the AoE in for fun. Get another hit. And now we're past the point of we're past 500. Once we get our ultimate up, we'll be at 500 stacks, and we can start doing the swipe if we want to. And it just depends on what our situation is like. So in this case, we can do the poke just to get a little bit more. I think I did one poke and then the rest swipes. I don't remember off the top of my head. I go a lot by feel when I play, which is probably a bad idea. Generally, you want to have some kind of, I don't know, formula or something, but as it stands, I do sometimes go by feel. And right now, so we're at 580, we're going to increase our stacks one more time. I wanted to do the AoE just to get rid of the ads and also get the ultimate charges so that when another character comes, they can, or when Sion went to summon someone, then he would be able to, we'd be able to take out the ads one more time. Now you note that Hoda is isolated now, and so when he calls someone to assist, it doesn't work. And when he tries to heal someone, it doesn't work. So what I can do with Kylo right now, and I didn't choose to do it, instead I did the poke. I could have freed Hoda from Isolate. I'm not convinced that that's always the right move. I think in this case, maybe it would have been one time okay to do that, because now Hoda isn't healing anyone. He's doing nothing right now. He may as well be dead. He's taking a couple hits, I guess. But otherwise, okay, so you can see, even though we haven't focused on doing the swipe, Nihilus is already below 70% of health. So now I'm debating, should I do the poke one more time or should I just start swiping? And now Hoda is pretty low on health. He can't heal anyone. He can just die if we're not careful. Nihilus is close to his Annihilate though. So, and he's gonna get his Annihilate before it's all over. So what I should have done early on was have Kylo Ren free Hoda from Isolate, but it was too late. Killed Hoda here. That was a mistake on my end. Probably should have freed him from Isolate with his event ability, but now, gosh, we're in a tricky situation, guys, because Nihilus has his Annihilate ability. So the question is, if Thrawn uses his shield, sometimes Nihilus is fast enough that he just kills. That he does his Annihilate before the shield runs out, but if he's not fast enough, and it's hard to predict, like he increases his speed based on how often he gets hit, and So it's just hard to tell, and it's based on how fast your Thrawn is, etc. My Thrawn is just pretty slow anyway, so I felt okay. Well, he's not super slow, he's like 275, but so I was trying to measure for a long time, what exactly do we need to do with Thrawn? Do I put his shield up? And in the end, so if we had Hoda around, this wouldn't be a problem. We could just put his shield up and then have Hoda put his shield up, and eventually we would catch it. So all we can really do here, I did the swipe, and we did get the Annihilate off. Look at how much turn meter Thrawn had, though. It was kind of closer than it should have been. All because Hoda wasn't around because I didn't free him from that Isolate until later. We used the event ability, great. But now Thrawn can just die to anything because we don't have Hoda to heal him. And we've got to finish this fast, guys. So 25%, we're down to 12%. And one thing I'll note, guys, before we finish off Nihilus here, it used to matter, it used to be that if you, so Nihilus dies and Sion dies once they hit 5% health. So really, it's a race to do 95% of his damage, and then Traya, for their weakness or whatever, kills them. It used to matter that if you did your final hit and covered that final 5%, you got more damage from the raid than your friends. They recently patched that out, so it's not a thing anymore. So now you don't have to worry about like getting him as close to 5% as you can and then just finishing him off. You can just hit him and it doesn't matter. As long as you get to the 5%, you get the same damage as everyone else. So, killed Nihilus, now we gotta kill Sion as quick as we can. Sion only has 3 turns until his enrage, so we gotta hustle. And we're isolated, it's a mess. We do have our ultimate getting closer, but Sion is at 2 now, and who knows how close Traya is. Once we get to Traya, we're usually good, and our ultimate is right on time for that. So, we hit Nihilus, he countered, that's great. He's dead now. Now, we have 5 turns to kill Traya, and so pop your ultimate, that's great. You can do your AoE a couple times if you want, or, I mean, the AoE did 30% of her damage anyways, so just decided to hit her. Now we're doing, man, I think that was a huge amount as well. And so she only took 3 hits from us till we finished her, but she does also ramp up her speed, so it can go pretty quick. So that's how it was. I mean, every time is a little different. I just wanted to show you guys the general gist of how it goes. And I know this video is kind of long because it's just the full recording, and I did all the freeze frames and everything. And I regret nothing. I wanted to show you guys all the stuff. So let's see. I think I do eventually show mods here. So let me show you guys those real quick. I'm just going to show you my relative speeds and everything. So let's see, I'm taking a while to get to it. Okay, so I'm showing you Hoda, his speed, he's at 312. You can look at his health and protection. He does have relic, I think 5, because I had to have that to unlock Jedi Master Luke. But I mean, nothing too crazy, honestly. 312, that's kind of quick. That's modded so that I can use him as a counter to to Supreme Leader Kylo in 5v5. I just haven't seen fit to move those mods because what's the point? The speed mods aren't quite fast enough to really worry about. Now, Thrawn is pretty slow. This is the slowest I've ever run Thrawn. You can note that his tenacity is high. Because of an experiment I was doing for 3v3, I think it's not going to work. Actually, I don't think it's worthwhile, but he should. I think he's more effective at higher speeds in this raid. 275 is, again, fine. Don't have him modded particularly for health or protection. I think I did emphasize protection a little bit. But now I'm wondering if he had a crit avoid arrow or not. It doesn't really matter. Supreme Leader Kylo, you can see he has as much health as I could manage, but then speed is also not that great. I just have him modded for offense. This does work, though. I've done it with a speed set on him, where he's like plus 190% or plus 190 speed, and this works just fine. It really doesn't matter. The speed just makes you want to get a few more stacks of Siphon, so that you can start doing more damage. But really, I mean, speed is just fine. Offense numbers are just fine. This is an offense set because this is how I prefer to have him modded. I feel like that's kind of his ideal in a way. Even though I know some people argue that speed is better for him, I also like that I can use an offense set. Now Hux, he's pretty quick-ish. I mean, this is what he's modded at for everything. This is just fast enough for what he needs to do. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, First Order Officer. He's also not too fast. 276. He used to be way faster. He used to be over 300. But he hasn't really needed that for a long time, so I reduced it. And I mean, these speeds aren't that crazy. These mods aren't crazy. Once you have Kylo at Relic 7, that's really the prerequisite. So that's about it. Yeah, Sith Raid, guys. It's good times. I hope you have success. I hope you find success in your raiding. And try not to pay attention to that 144 Cantina energy that I hadn't spent. I don't know what's up with that. But I'm going to leave you now right before we hit... I guess we're not going to hit 50 minutes, but we might hit 46 if we're not careful. In fact, I believe we did. So before we hit 47, I will sign off. I hope this helped. I know it's long-winded and rambling. I like to make guides that are actually thorough and show all the different facets and actually prove that I can do it. So, I don't know. But some of the guides out there are a little frustrating to me because people don't actually talk about all the things that you have to learn over time. I will say this, guys. I have never once failed to solo this. Never once. And I know that I made it sound like I haven't soloed it much. I have soloed it a bunch in a row back a few months ago, and then I just haven't had time. My schedule changed, and I didn't do it for a couple months until I did it here. So that there's a little rust. Obviously, I don't know all the phrases that well, but man, this is legit. It works every time if you follow the general guidelines of what I'm showing you guys. The general principles, it works. It totally does. So, all right, guys. I am for real going to leave you now. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.